Hello everyone and welcome back to the Sideline Sato YouTube channel. And today, in the second video of today, we're going to be looking at the current case that has been levied against Manchester City Football Club by Premier League officials. 100 plus charges, a 4-year investigation looking at Man City from the 2009-2010 season to the 2017-2018 season. As a disclaimer, I'm not going to go into all the details of the charges in here because, quite frankly, there's so many of them that I'd be here all night. But ultimately, I will give some insight into my opinion on it. If you guys like the video, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Do what you will to try to help grow the channel because any bit of support helps. And the more support I get, the more motivated I am to want to put out videos. So let's get right into it. So news broke today that a 4-year investigation by the Premier League had concluded. Manchester City was allegedly, according to Premier League officials, charged with, well, not allegedly, they have been charged with over 100 counts of breaching of Premier League fair play protocol and rules regarding financial dealings. And ultimately, this has ranged from, the way that the club has gotten sponsorships to the way that the club has signed players or signed managers and paid said managers and players. There's been a lot of controversy regarding this for years. UEFA in particular had a case that ended up getting appealed in the CAS, which is like the governing appeals board body for European sports. And ultimately, this is kind of, that led nowhere because City has quite a robust legal team, as one would expect. But some of the highlights of this case with City are the fact that, one, this comes right at the start of this week where the English Parliament was set to announce a footballing regulator, and that has been postponed. So that is pretty monumental. On top of that, Man City is in a position where they now are generating a lot of commercial revenue, but that's not what's in question here. It's all of the stuff leading up to the last couple of seasons, and ultimately they won't be able to appeal this with the CAS, according to what I've read from some English journalists. So this is going to have to be settled in English court if City does fight it, which I assume their owners and the club itself will fight tooth and nail. There is a lot of implications here. People have discussed the kind of punishments that might be taken against Man City for these charges, ranging from anywhere from fine to points deduction to stripping or voiding City of former Premier League titles. Ultimately, there's going to be a lot of time between the actual punishments getting announced, between City, fighting in court and said potential punishments taking effect. So this will be a multi-month, maybe multi-year process, but the implications for the whole world of football, the Premier League, and international sports as a whole is quite honestly pretty insane. City is a pretty big club, but there has been some inconsistencies over the last couple of seasons. I mean, during 2020, most football teams had announced that they hadn't, turned a profit, that they were operating on a loss, and it makes sense. I mean, they couldn't have fans in the stadium. City actually had an increase in their finances during that year on top, but first of all, that season isn't being looked at. It's 2009, 2010 to 2017, 2018. So there is a lot of controversy regarding, quite honestly, how City has amassed this amount of wealth. They have boasted that they have a higher commercial revenue than the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man United, Liverpool, and ultimately, I'm personally skeptical. I probably have a bias in that statement, considering I am a Liverpool fan. But let's be honest. I mean, the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern, United, they've been powerhouses and absolutely massive entities for decades, if not like almost a century running. It's been a very long time that has gone into place for them to amass these kinds of supporter bases. And when you look at City, there is a lot of controversy even coming from Pep Guardiola himself concerning the lack of support at home games and, who's turning up to the stadiums. Pep himself has also said that, he believes the club's given him their word that effectively they aren't doing any sort of financial doping. And he said that if they are found of doing any sort of doping, he's going to leave the very next day. So ultimately, as of right now, it is a fresh situation. There is not really any sort of actual, proof that this is the case in regards to these 100+ charges. But when you look at the fact that there is 100+ charges, that's coming at the time that it is with the whole, football regulator being put off this week when it was set to be announced, and just the sheer volume of them and some of the charges themselves being in regards to financial irregularities, it really does feel like the Premier League is throwing the book at City. Whether that's deserve it or not, that's up to you to decide. I personally think that it's kind of a long time coming, but at the same time, it does kind of speak to the fact that the world of football, the world of sport has been kind of infiltrated by financial motivations over the last couple decades, and that's kind of, tainted the overall product. And you can make an argument, City is just operating within the bounds of that. And hey, maybe they are. This is, once again, all alleged. So it'll be really interesting to follow this. If I were to make a prediction, I don't think that they're going to get stripped of any titles or relegated or anything like that, just based on the kind of nature of the Premier League. Juventus is going through a bit of a scandal with transfer irregularities and have already been given a 15-point deduction in Serie A. This is the second time this has happened with Juventus, and quite honestly, will it happen in the Premier League? Could it happen? I mean, obviously it could. I'm going to hold my breath. I doubt it does. But the implications of these charges and the potential prospective punishments are quite resounding. I mean, a club like Man City, with the amount of wealth and infrastructure that they've built out over the last decade, going down to the championship would be very devastating. Regardless, they wouldn't be in the Champions League. They wouldn't be competing in the Premier League. They wouldn't have as much revenue. They'd have to sell some players. It would be, quite honestly, an absolute whirlwind to see. This is, quite unprecedented for the Premier League. A lot of English journalists have used that specific word, unprecedented. So, ultimately, my prediction is that they'll probably be given, once this comes to an end in a resolution, there will be massive fines at the bare minimum. They're probably going to get some kind of point deduction. But if I were to have to guess, I really doubt that any sort of voiding of previous seasons or title stripping occurs. I, for one, as a Liverpool fan, wouldn't mind it. But ultimately, I don't think that's going to be the reality. It does kind of speak to the fact that the state of world sport and the state of world football in particular has gotten so financially almost reckless and irresponsible, and the amount of money that's coming in from all these sponsors is just it's just become overwhelming. I think the English Parliament is right to try to get a new financial regulator. I think it'd be the first regulator of football in general to oversee financial law and ultimately oversee just the fairness of the sport. I think it makes for a better product when there's more parity. And ultimately, I'm shocked that there's not such a thing as a salary cap or any sort of existing regulatory body for stuff like this. It feels like a long time coming, but obviously, football is a very historic and tradition and storied event and sort of part of the fabric of English sports culture and English culture as a whole, and things that are kind of ingrained and ingratiated into a culture take a very long time to change. So ultimately, this is a bombshell of a report. I don't think anybody saw this coming. Cities put out a statement. They've said they've cooperated. Premier League officials have said they haven't cooperated as much as they'd like them to, and also the former head of investigation for UEFA, who was overseeing this case for City, he has came out and basically said, this case from the Premier League is far broader, more encompassing, and more thorough than our investigation ever was. So really, as of right now, there isn't much to say. Then it's going to be a very interesting few months and couple of years, and I think this will have extremely high ramifications for the sport. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I just hope it brings some more financial regulation and it brings some more kind of just clarity to the way that the sport itself is financed. And I think the Premier League and English football as a whole could take a lot of inspiration from other sports in terms of just the way that's structured, salary caps and luxury taxes and such. So, I think as of right now, we just kind of have to wait and see to really understand what the true repercussions will be for this event. But ultimately, I'd love to hear what you guys have to think, what you guys have to say. If you enjoyed the video, once again, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what your thoughts are. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.